Yeah? Holy shit. Just when you thought that it couldn't get any fucking crazier in professional wrestling, like it did in 2022, where we had Cody Rhodes jump from AEW to WWE, when we had Vince McMahon supposedly retire from WWE, and you had, just John Cena wrestled just this past Friday on SmackDown for his whatever 22nd or 23rd consecutive year he wrestled in a match. We've had all this crazy shit that has happened in 2022. In 2023, 5 days in.
Override anything anybody says, which is why all the board of directors, more or less, are gone. These are all the people that really were putting the screws to Vince as far as the investigation into him. 3 of them were let go and 2 of them resigned. And it was, I think, I forget the dude's name, but I think the dude who was like the chief investigator, like I think was one of the ones fired. Either way.
Yep. Right.
Either way, like there is so much to unpack with this, and Vince being back, as much as they are saying everybody in their current duties, it's not changing. So Triple H is still going to be the head of creative and head of talent and all that jazz. They had a meeting with all the employees this afternoon, like by Zoom, except for the wrestlers. Shocking. So basically, one of the things that they said out there specifically, and I'm going to, again, take this note that I got from it. They said there are going to be no changes in people's responsibilities or their jobs. And then at the end of that, at this time, what this tells me is eventually I think Vince is going to end up back doing things. And even if he doesn't end up back doing things because he's now acting, as he's not CEO, but he's acting as chairman. Right. If he decides he wants to cut the budget and, oh, by the way, get rid of some of the returning superstars who he never saw a thing in, just to make the bottom line look better, guess what? He's not involved in creative, but he is screwing with creative.
That's Vince McMahon.
So, but also that line, at this time, I mean, I don't know how to react other than like Michael Scott when Toby came back from like, was it Guatemala?
Yeah. Oh, no, he was coming back from, shit, I'm drawing a blank.
He came back from a long time off.
Right. He did. And, no! God, no! Come on,
please,
no!
God,
please,
no!
No! Oh, please tell me we're wearing the same shirt, by the way. We are wearing the same shirt, right? This is a complete coincidence, people. I just want you to know, Jay and I did not text each other before the show to say we have to wear the same shirt. I will be completely honest with you. Yesterday, before the whole thing with Vince McMahon came out, I had a whole different shirt figured out for today. And as soon as Vince McMahon said, hey, guess what, pal? This is not such good shit. So I had to wear it.
Yeah, 100% agree. Now, one thing about some of the talents that were brought back that were released a couple of years ago, in general, we don't know exactly what their deals are, but my guess is they were probably signed back at less money than they were if you're talking like Braun Strowman. I'm not sure about Bray Wyatt. But if I were Bray, I'm sure he's still doing fine.
I think if I remember correctly, I heard that the only people who make more than Bray Wyatt now are Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar.
And why not?
Yeah.
But quite honestly, you know what this also reeks of? I mean, Vince clearly has no hobbies. He's been planning this for at least a little bit of time. And let's be honest, we are in Royal Rumble and WrestleMania season. He can't stay away. He is not going to stay out of creative. He is going to do shit to monkey around all this stuff. Oh, by the way, another thing, and who brought this up when all the allegations were coming out about Vince before he stepped down, about them taking the company private again, so that if stuff like this came out, there wasn't any way through stockholders or anything like that that they could force Vince into retirement. So quite honestly, if you're asking me my honest opinion, they're going to take it private. Vince is going to take back control, and just like he did when the allegations came out and went on SmackDown and said, fuck him. Quite honestly, that's what I feel like he's doing right now.
Now, and I'll be honest, I'm going to hold off judgment on the whole thing with Vince McMahon because I am the king of immediate reaction to whatever happens. Because, honest to goodness, Vince McMahon coming back 5 days into 2023 warranted enough to be my brainless for this week, but I decided no. I said no. I'm going to hold off because if he says he's going to stay out of creative, fine. He just wants to be the guy in the chair, just to be the guy in the chair when they negotiate their contracts with USA and Fox. Okay. He thinks he's a better negotiator? Fine. If this leads to him getting into the Hall of Fame, so be it. If I see him on Raw or SmackDown and say, I'm back, pals, and some shit like this, and then all of a sudden John Cena is fighting Ric Flair for the 17th World Championship. That's what it's going to come down to. And then we're going to have Gunther back down in freaking NXT, and, you know, Roman Reigns is still going to be champion in 2024. And like Mike Brady said, Vince coming back for business is not what's best for business. It's stupid. I don't get. You're right. He needs a hobby. Go play chess. There's a whole mess of golf courses in the state of Connecticut. You could go golfing in Connecticut. I know people who know people who know people. I can find you a golf course, Vince. He just needs some. Imagine if he sold the company and they kept everybody else in charge, and then he went and bought AEW.
I mean, that would be interesting. Hey, if Vince really wants to prove how good he still is at stuff, that would be one way of doing it. Although the Cons have more money than he does,
and we'll definitely be having Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks dressed up like in tutus. That's a guarantee. And Wardlow would be a 16-time AEW World Champion.
And the thing that, and I don't want to understate this, maybe just maybe, Stephanie and Triple H are smart, extremely smart. And that's why the Bucktooth Beaver is still around. We know the Bucktooth Beaver is a favorite of Vince's. So we're going to still get the fucking shaky camera, and we're going to get the bullshit cutaway while they're in the middle of doing a freaking move. We're going to miss the reappearance of Andre the Giant coming back from the dead to be in the Royal Rumble this year because Kevin Dunn needs to look at somebody in the crowd. And Andre the Giant's going to sit there and choke somebody out and going to sit on them. And we're going to see a shot of Joe Schmo, like with a beer, paying little to no attention to what's going on into the ring, instead of seeing a reincarnated or brought back to life Andre the Giant.
Wonder of the world.
We won't even see it.
You know, it's funny because I didn't think it was possible that he could absolutely ruin someone's debut. And then the 2016 Royal Rumble happened. And I said, okay, that's fine. Maybe it was because it was AJ Styles and they undersold AJ Styles. Oh, who would have thought that in 2020 he was going to do it to poor Edge in his return? How could you fuck Edge up like that? I mean, seriously.
We got a better camera angle from somebody in the crowd. I remember specifically Dolph Ziggler like going, well, you missed Edge's first spear coming back that I took.
Yeah.
And like ended up like I think it was either retweeting or sharing on Instagram, like going, oh, here's the angle of when I took the spear from Edge. Like,
Bucky Beaver.
As much as part of me like wants to be on what you're talking about of, hey, as long as he stays out of everything, it's okay. I don't think he can. I just don't think he can. And Triple H has made a lot of very good strides. I mean, we talked about it, I think, last week, where Kevin Owens did an interview where he was like, that this era of WWE is being logical. Well, the logic has just gone out the damn window.
Yeah. When Vince left, they said that morale in the locker room was the best it had been in a long time. And I'm telling you that the atmosphere where you work makes a huge difference. As somebody, I can tell you this, I've worked in really toxic workplaces. So I understand that. And when you have management that really just bullies people, kind of like the way Vince McMahon does, you're going to have a toxic workplace. It's simple as that. And people aren't going to be able to
turn the management. But I think Vince likes it that way. But back in the day, he tried to pit people against one another because he thought competition made it a better place. And it's like to an extent, I agree with that. But like, if you're making it so toxic that like only one or two people are actually having a good time there, as opposed to like
everybody.
Hey, let the tide rise. Don't sit there and have basically you had Hogan Mountain back in the day, but then like Attitude Era, just about everybody was like, it was almost like they made a plateau that was higher than Mount Everest. Everybody was over. Everybody. And then it went into, all right, well, we went from Mount Hogan to Mount Cena, and now we got Mount Roman, and...
Hold on a second. There's something wrong, because you just said there was a Mount Hogan, a Mount Cena, and a Mount Roman. I only see Mount Hogan and Mount Roman. Is there really a Mount Cena? Because I don't see it. It's never, I swear, that joke's never get. There was a guy on Twitter who goes, it's getting old now. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's never going to get old. It's still funny. Because you know why? Because you can't see John Cena.
It was very tough.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, Gags the Clown, it was toxic up until, what was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago? And then they let go of Mandy Rose, and
it's a little less
toxic attraction.
A little less toxic in WWE. A lot less attraction, too.
That's right. I whistled "Toxic" from Britney Spears.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah? Jeez. I just...
Mike Rainey, I could understand why there are a bunch of talent right now walking on eggshells. I could understand why anybody within the company could possibly be walking on eggshells. If they're possibly going to sell this company, a lot of times what companies do is they cut costs, which they did a lot of that when they didn't need to, in the past couple of years. And there were certain people that Vince McMahon didn't see money in, so hey, I don't see money in them. Let's get rid of them now.
Right.
If I were Karrion Kross, I'd be scared.
You're either going to be fired or look like a Raider again.
Tim, the thing is Theory is being pushed again.
Yeah.
And it was more or less Triple H decided, like, you know what, we're going to do a kind of soft reboot of Austin Theory. We're going to take the briefcase off him because that's what Vince wanted. We're going to take him off, even though that was one of the dumbest things I saw in all of WWE in 2022. It really was.
I mean, there was a lot of it too, though. That was, oh my God. That's up there too, Jay. That's an all-timer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the Red Rooster for Terry Taylor bad. That's like Dog Kennel from Hell Match. I mean, that's how bad it was. It's Kazarni bad. But I just, if Vince is just, like I said, if Vince is just here to work out the negotiations for the contracts, for the TV networks, fine, so be it. He wants to be the negotiator, let him be the negotiator. The second he goes in there and starts fucking with Gunther and all the other good shit that Triple H has done, I'm going to be pissed. And then I don't know what the fuck we're going to start talking about because I refuse to watch AEW unless Danhausen is on. So actually, I think that there's more to it.
You know what? While you say Danhausen, guess what? Danhausen was the #1, I think, merch seller for Pro Wrestling Tees.
T-shirts, yes, he was in 2022. He was #1. CM Punk was #2, and MJF was #3. I love the fact that it was Danhausen. By the way, also speaking of Danhausen, so the action figures that they've been coming out for AEW have shown the prototype for Danhausen's first action figure. So talk about a character arc from somebody who was kind of, I don't even know what the fuck Danhausen was before. I really don't. Because all I remember was for a couple of years on Twitter that he would just sit there and randomly reply to these wrestlers. And I'm like, who the fuck is this Danhausen guy? I thought it was just some random fan that dressed up like a clown, like, Frank the Clown. And I was like, well, maybe he's just Danhausen and all this stuff. And then I found out he was an actual wrestler. I was like, holy shit. And then I started doing my deep dive into the Danhausen, and boy, that was fun. I uncovered a lot of stuff. I uncovered wrestlers called Dan the Dad.
Ron Zombie.
Oh God, please. Oh.
So, what the heck you call it? Tim's saying Top Dollar. Top Dollar and everybody in Hit Row should probably be frightened.
Yeah.
Bronson Reed should be frightened. I don't know necessarily about Braun Strowman. Like, if they signed him back, because I think Braun's deal before, he was making over $1 million. I'm going to guess they signed him back at less than what he was making before. So Vince might be okay with that right now because, you know. But
Ricochet's
so
going to be off the
other.
I was going to say Ricochet's going to be off the Royal
Ricochet
Rumble
peed in his cereal.
Yeah.
Ricochet peed in his cereal.
The fact that Ricochet was on the Royal Rumble poster, he's immediately going to be taken off in about a week. He's going to be taken off, and they're going to put Charlotte Flair on it.
And I know that was breaking news last week, like as we were ending the show, that Charlotte became the new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Oh, okay.
And
now that the greatest award show in wrestling history is in our rearview mirror until next year, or until the end of this year, I should say, and I could get excited for the next 350 some odd days. But now that we have the chance, and after we've digested what happened last week, I just want to know, what are your thoughts on how they did it?
From a strategic standpoint, as a company, not letting you know ahead of time that she was going to be there. In some ways, it was really brilliant. And in my view, in some ways, it was the dumbest thing they've done.
In 2023 so far. Oh, no, that was 2022 stuff.
No. What happened yesterday, right now, is my leader in the clubhouse for Brainless Moment of the Year.
Oh, it's probably going to hold on to that. It'll be the longest that anything held a Markey Award. I'm telling you.
So, last week, specifically on SmackDown, they announced 2 weeks ahead of time that John Cena was going to be on that show.
Yep.
Immediately after that, ticket sales went up. John Cena being on the TV makes more eyeballs on SmackDown, which means, hey, there's more people watching to see what John Cena is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, well, we've had Charlotte on the shelf for a long time, and when's a good time to bring her back? As much as, heck, we probably even said on this show that Royal Rumble would be when she came back. Well, they were like, you know what? Let's surprise them with something they won't quite expect, and we're going to have an audience a bit larger than we normally do because we brought back John Cena. From all that standpoint, it's fucking brilliant. It really is. But Charlotte coming back and winning the title, there was no mountain she had to climb. She just had to be Charlotte Flair. And as much as I respect what she does in the ring.
Agreed.
Why is she always
the champion?
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that, you know what, we got Liv Morgan, and she can't take the moniker, but I'm going to say Liv Morgan was a people's champion.
Yep.
And Ronda Rousey, you know, she could more or less, at this point, probably similar to Brock as far as, like, I want to work with this person, I don't want to work with this person. She could probably do that. And specifically said, "Hey, I'll lose the title, but I want it to be somebody who is legit into professional wrestling." So she was okay with losing the title to Liv Morgan, but you know, okay, Ronda gets the title back, and then she loses it to Charlotte
after beating Raquel Rodriguez in a match right before Charlotte came out, too.
Yeah. And Mike, as much as, like, I think it would have been better, at least for the fans, like the people like us that are effing marks. Raquel winning the title would have been better, but I think for a general audience like SmackDown, Charlotte is seen in a better light. And I don't think they think Raquel is there yet.
That's fine. Then don't put her in the match. I just, there's so much that wow. That was my first thought was wow. My question, I have two of them, actually. I have two questions for you. Number one, did you ever think that we would come across a time where Charlotte Flair was the lesser of two evils as champion?
No.
I just it's you drop it from the worst wrestler to a better wrestler, but okay. My second question to you is: do you think that they didn't tell Ronda it was going to happen?
I think she knew.
I don't know, Jay. She had a look on her, and I know that she is not the best when it comes to facial mannerisms. But that look she had, the pinfall that they had, because Charlotte grabbed her shorts. There was a point when I was watching it, and I watched it 2 or 3 times just to make sure. There was a point where I was convinced they were going to do like a Montreal Screwjob 2.0, where they were going to have Charlotte come in there, beat Ronda in like 20-something seconds. Just when I saw her lift up the trunks, and I went, okay. What just happened? I don't know. I don't know. It felt weird. It felt awkward. I didn't like it.
Wait. Are you saying it felt like that scene from Step Brothers, where it's like something's happening?
Jay, I don't know. I feel like Charlie Kelly with the thing in the back trying to explain the mail situation, and I'm just trying to rip out whatever's left of my hair, trying to fathom why you had Charlotte come in and wrestle Ronda Rousey after Ronda Rousey just wrestled a match and won in a title match, and then had her lose in 20 seconds. I'm flabbergasted. That was first time in my life as a wrestling fan I was flabbergasted by something that WWE did. I've been stunned. I've been shocked. I've been amazed. That was the first time I was flabbergasted. I had no idea what to think because it didn't make any sense. It really didn't. That was my biggest issue, is it made no sense. If you didn't
Now, storyline-wise, to be fair, the last time we saw Charlotte Flair was in what was it? Was it I Quit match, or was it submission match?
It was like an I Quit match or a submission match, something like that. Yeah.
She lost to Ronda.
Yep.
So
that was when she lost the title.
You could understand where Charlotte wants to come back and win the title. And hey, I didn't get my rematch, and blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. But like,
what's up, Jessica?
Something like that. It definitely felt very fast forwarded.
Yeah.
And like there are things out there that said originally it was supposed to be Raquel versus Ronda at the Royal Rumble, and originally it was supposed to be Becky versus Ronda at WrestleMania, and clearly that has been blown up.
I just want to know how we went from having, like you said, those matches for WrestleMania to it getting completely obliterated. And then the next day, we find out that we're going to end up somehow, some way getting Ronda Rousey and Rhea Ripley now. Make it make sense. Rhea Ripley should be the favorite to win the Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley should be the one that wins the Women's Royal Rumble. She should be the one challenging Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, and Rhea Ripley should have her WrestleMania moment this year against Bianca Belair. This is not a criticism of Bianca Belair as a performer. Again, last week she was my female wrestler of the year, and I think that she is the perfect person to be the face of the women's division in WWE as a role model for the young girls that want to become wrestlers. But at the end of the day, she can't hold it on forever, because look at what we have now. We have Roman Reigns that has held on to 2 titles for basically forever. And somebody like Rhea, it's her time. She's held the title before, but you know what? She's really developed as a character. I have enjoyed her above anybody else in the Spooky Pals. Spooky Pals. And it's not indictment on Finn Balor because Finn Balor's been fine. Damian Priest has been fine. Rhea Ripley's been great. I'm just saying, Spooky Pals is just a terrible gimmick anyway. But
hey, on a related note, I'm throwing this out there. Congrats, Dom Mysterio, on your engagement.
To not Rhea Ripley. Yes, congratulations to Dominic Mysterio on your engagement. I know
I hope you do better at married life than you do at wrestling.
See, I was gonna take the high road, and then you went totally brainless one, which is fine because now I don't have to go the kind and gentle route and say that I'm happy for Dominic Mysterio, and I know I give him a hard time.
Hey, I'm happy for him too. I just hope he becomes a better wrestler.
All I was gonna say was I'm happy for him, and oh fuck, now I lost it. I had an open-ended comment that was going to get backhanded into the whole thing. It's fine. You won this time, Cousin Jay, but don't you worry. I got something up my sleeve that'll get you to break tonight. Don't you worry.
Clash 13 always gets me to break. So does Great Gatsby.
Wait. All right, so we talked about Charlotte. Oh God, I can't believe we talked about Charlotte winning the SmackDown title. Oh,
this is almost non-show related, just notes from the week.
Holy shit!
That's called the shotgun.
Now, I just want you to know. A lot of times when I'm putting in my list of items to talk about, I have some weeks I have a hard time finding 10. There's some weeks I could probably fill 2 pages. I thought I was going to have a hard time finding topics today, and I wrote down 15 things and then a whole other list of other things. What a great first week of 2023 and a great way to finish off 2022 with Charlotte Flair winning and John Cena being on the winning end of Roman Reigns' first loss in God only knows how long.
Right.
And Kevin Owens got fucked up.
So if you want to talk about things getting effed up, we did have a couple of injuries this week.
Yep, go ahead.
Seth Rollins has not been confirmed in any way, shape, or form, but based off of his tweet, it sounds like he might have torn an ACL again. In 2016, when he tried to do the sunset flip power bomb to Kane, he tore his ACL and tweeted, what was it? Redesign, rebuild, restore.
Something like that.
And he tweeted the same exact thing this week after he sustained an apparent injury. So they have not officially announced anything. You haven't seen anything since then about Seth Rollins. So what I feel is going to happen on Monday Night Raw, he's going to get attacked, or we're going to just see him laying on the ground on camera behind the scenes on Monday Night Raw to write him off of television. My only request of WWE and or Seth Rollins, make it the seamless romper that he wore in Norfolk.
What's up, Chris Brown? Honestly, Mike, I actually want to get into that too. And Jessica, Jay and I are both in agreement. We don't want to see Vince McMahon go in there and fuck anything up that Triple H has done with creative since the summer when Vince retired. Honestly, Jay, I agree with Mike Rainey. I could see this as a kayfabe injury. I watched the video of what he did after the injury and how he did the X thing and he got mad at the referee. And I'm like, I can understand, like, being in the moment, you could be upset and, like, hey, I got hurt and it was, probably should have stopped and everything. I get that. But I don't know. It's just, there's something about it. It felt really kayfabe to me. And,
okay.
And with the whole thing with the bloodline, when they came in there and they just brought total anarchy to Raw on Monday, I don't know. There's been speculation that what the bloodline did on Monday was going to lead to them using that as a reason to strip Roman of the WWE Championship so he doesn't have to have both heading into WrestleMania, so you could have two separate title matches. Fine, if that's how you want to do it, makes sense. Punish him by the bloodline. It's a good way. Build up. Great. Fantastic. Wonderful. You're going to need a champion heading into WrestleMania for Monday Night Raw. If Cody Rhodes is not ready, Cody Rhodes is, even if Cody's ready, WrestleMania is where Cody Rhodes is going to have his glorious, wonderful son of the plumber.
Glorious!
He's going to have Cody Rhodes is going to be in the ring holding the WWE Championship, and Michael Cole's going to say, just like Vince did in 1996, I believe, the boyhood dream has come true for the nightmare. Adrenaline in my soul. And the music's going to be playing, the fireworks are going to be going off, and somehow Dustin's going to be there, and they're going to celebrate in the ring, and and it's going to be such a glorious moment, a wonderful moment. So I know that Cody's winning at WrestleMania. It is somebody for Cody to beat at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins is your most likeliest person. He is the one that makes the most sense. If they do strip the title and they do some kind of like chicanery, like gauntlet type match or something like that, and Seth comes out last and wins with nefarious tactics and he turns heel, so be it. I hope it really is a kayfabe injury. I really don't want to see if he tore his ACL. That's terrible. I'm sorry, and that's one of your workhorses that you cannot afford to lose him heading into WrestleMania. So I'm hoping it's kayfabe.
I don't think it is, but all that being said, one thing that is not kayfabe, AJ Styles, broken ankle.
Yep.
He came out on Twitter, said will not need surgery, but it seems like he's going to be out for at least a couple of months, which to me says he's not going to have a WrestleMania match. Like, unless he ends up in like if it ends up on WrestleMania, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, you could put him in that. But if he's got a broken ankle and it's going to take a few months, I don't think we'll see him until at least the night after WrestleMania. And that's a shame.
I could see him make it. It's AJ Styles. You only have so many of these. I think the fact that he doesn't need surgery makes it more of a chance that he can be at WrestleMania. Did you see what Chris Brown just posted? Scares me that the Brainless one, the senile fuck going out there while Theory is cutting a promo and saying Daddy's back.
Yeah?
I don't remember the last time I watched Monday Night Raw and it caused me to vomit. That would cause me to vomit. Yeah.
Sad.
Dead. It's too bad about AJ Styles. I was very upset when I found out he got hurt. That's another one of your big players. It's fucking AJ Styles, man. All right. I know you don't really want to discuss too much about this, but we have to give it the attention that I guess it deserves. But this week they had New Japan's Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom, and after Kairi Sane defended the IWGP Women's Championship, Mercedes Moné formerly known as Sasha Banks, made her way to the ring, went face-to-face with Kairi Sane. I have no idea if that was a botch or what have you. I'm convinced it was a botch. And now we have her in Japan.
My case with Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Moné Money, any company she goes to, I still stand by my statement of don't trust her. She may be a star, but if you don't do what she wants, she seems to quickly turn and decide that, well, you're not doing what I want, so I'm just going to take my ball and go home and
fuck it.
She goes to
fuck it.
Japan, and the first thing that happens is a botch.
No, Jay. Hold on. No. That's not the worst. The worst part is that wasn't even the worst botch in regards to Mercedes Moné. Did you see the moldy cheese on top of her head? Whoever told her that was a good look should get their ass kicked.
I appreciate the fact that she's going for a unique look that is not quote-unquote Sasha Banks. I get that. Again, my biggest problem is you're leaning the weight of New Japan Pro Wrestling trying to build a women's division.
Yep.
On somebody who is multiple times walked on a company that was trying to lean on her to be one of the pillars.
Yeah.
I am not denying the talent.
Yep.
I'm not trying to deny the fact that she is a star, but I would not stake an entire division on her.
Agreed.
And that's what it feels like is going on. It feels like, okay, she has this thing with Kairi saying they're going to put the title on her.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a bad idea.
Is she going to be Soraya's partner next Wednesday?
There are conflicting reports about whether or not she signed with AEW. I'm going to say yes. She will be there on AEW. I hope they don't hotshot the title on her in AEW. And I hope they don't decide, like, well, we need to put the title on her in New Japan. I know with New Japan, they had, like, their women's division really isn't a thing. They have, like, a relationship with Stardom. If you're going to try to build a foundation, your foundation should be solid, and Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Moné, has not proven herself to be a solid foundation. If she gets upset, she leaves, and has a little hissy fit and bitches about it.
Well, my whole thing is that I understand where she was coming from this time, if it was the first time she did it. But the fact is that in what was WrestleMania 35, so that was 3 years ago, she did the same thing after they won the tag team titles that they were crying for that they got, and then when they were going to drop the belts to the Iconics at WrestleMania, and we found out that Sasha Banks, and at first it was Sasha Banks and Bayley had a hissy fit and a temper tantrum outside of Vince's office, and they both went away, and then Bayley comes back, wins Money in the Bank, and then becomes SmackDown Women's Champion.
Wins Money in the Bank.
I see what you did there. I like that. But, so clearly, it wasn't really a Bayley issue. It was a Sasha issue. Then Sasha got pissed because she got bumped from her spot. I understand her on this one. You got bumped from your spot for a person who is only there for a paycheck, who is the absolute worst of the worst in the ring. The one that makes Dominic...
Worst!
So the only wrestler that makes Dominic Mysterio look like AJ Styles. And then you got mad because as the tag team champions, you didn't want to put over another champion because it was a holdover because he lined up. So you got mad. So you fucked up their entire thing. And poor Naomi. I can't believe I'm actually going to Naomi's defense in this. But poor Naomi got dragged into all of this. And she's going to be coming back.
Allegedly.
I'm shocked. JK, she's going to be at the Royal Rumble. She's going to be at the Royal Rumble. And one of the rumors that I heard that it's going to be her and Charlotte for the title of WrestleMania.
If Naomi is part of the bloodline, I completely get that.
Okay. Fair. But I'm convinced that the bloodline's going to dissolve. I think they're going to lose all the belts.
At WrestleMania, I'm convinced that Captain Cupcake and Sami Zayn will be the new tag team champions.
I'm not so sure.
And beyond that, I saw articles out there this week. I don't agree with them. The Roman, after WrestleMania, might be going away for a bit and just kind of doing his thing without being part of WWE. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
The inference was that he's going to go out there and try to be an actor. You know, he's under 40 and he has a certain look and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. He signed a new deal with WWE less than a year ago. I don't think they would have signed him to said deal if they thought that he was about to fly the coop.
If anything, they might be giving him a break so that he can shoot a movie. Maybe him and Dwayne want to shoot a movie. I know that Dwayne doesn't know how to say no to a script. I'm pretty sure that I could write together 200 pages of shit and give it to The Rock and he'd make it a movie. I'm convinced of that. In fact, I'm going to challenge myself to write a script for a movie and pitch it to The Rock.
Hey,
because I am not,
to be fair, The Rock lives in the same Commonwealth as we do, only a few short hours away.
Don't tell me that. That's a bad thing.
He is right outside of Charlottesville. If I get Cousin Colin to give him a little bit of moonshine, and then you could give him your script, I think we could get that to happen.
Jay, I think it's going to need a lot more than some moonshine to convince The Rock to do anything that I write down on anything. Speaking of things that I write down, I have a new article that I'll be posting this weekend, so check out the F and Mark's Facebook page.
Yeah.
To give you a little hint, it's Brainless Thoughts, And my brainless thought is 10 things I'd like to see happen in professional wrestling in 2023. I think it's a pretty good read. I put a lot of thought and heart into that. And I'm going to be posting. It's either going to be tomorrow or Sunday. I haven't decided when I'm going to get to be able to post it. But it'll be this weekend.
So also along similar lines, when is your Clash 13 post going to happen?
I got to finish that up. I got a couple matches left to do. And then I'm going to have, I have somebody proofreading all of my posts before I send it out because, as you know and I know, but not too many people that watch the podcast know, I have a Bristol Eastern education, so I have to make sure that all of my pronunciation and grammar is proper before I post anything because I don't want to come off as brainless. JK.
It's funny because it's true.
But yeah, that's gonna be coming out too. All
right, FNMark's Hall of Famer Timmy. How about a movie with The Rock and Cousin Colin as a buddy movie written by the Brainless one? I think it's a great idea.
I got to figure out how I'm going to write that. See, I was going to try to do a movie with The Rock and Rod Farva from Super Troopers.
Yeah.
And like Rob Lowe, where all Rob Lowe does literally. This is literally me and The Rock in the car. Literally. That'd be fantastic. Speaking of AEW, FTR on December 1st of 2022 had not one, not two, but 3 tag team championships. Today is January 6th. So 5 weeks later, they don't have 1, 2, or 3 championships. They have 0.
They took that from John Cena.
They dropped the AAA championships. They then dropped the Ring of Honor titles, or I might have switched those. I got those two mixed up. And then this past week at Wrestle Kingdom, they dropped the titles and they have
IWGP
no championship. IWGP tag team titles. Their contracts in AEW are up in April. That's why I'm not actually convinced that that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to be the new tag team champions at WrestleMania. I wouldn't be surprised if FTR came back to wrestle the Usos. Kind of like a Hardy situation. Especially now, I don't know what this means for professional wrestling, but the fact is that they've made it that these non-compete clauses that businesses offer to employees so they can't work for competitors don't exist anymore. The government shut those all down at the beginning of this year. I don't know if that's going to have any kind of implication on what happens with professional wrestlers going forward, but it is a damning thought when FTR, who was, the day FTR and the Young Bucks wrestled, the world will rejoice, and now here we are.
Wait. Marquee a winning tag team, FTR.
Marquee award-winning tag team, multiple-time Marquee award-winning tag team, FTR. I honestly feel in my heart of hearts they're going back to WWE. I honestly, with this whole Vince McMahon thing, this might throw a huge wrench in that plan. So
there are a couple of wrenches possibly in that plan, because the Road Dogg, who's like the VP of like live events and what have you, had some interesting things to say. So FTR has their podcast that is on part of like AEW, and he, like, I think it was Dax who said, hey, when we did the Raw anniversary show, we had a segment with D-Generation X, and traditionally within pro wrestling, if you have like a segment or you get physical X, Y, and Z with somebody, when you get backstage, you thank them and you shake hands, blah, 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 blah. Well, apparently, after the segment that they had with DX and the Revival, as they were known back in WWE.
Yep.
DX, and specifically, I know they pinpointed the Road Dogg, did not shake their hands, did not thank them for the segment, and they specifically noted that on their podcast. Road Dogg Jesse James came out and on his podcast talked about, like, how can I really describe it other than Road Dogg in the segment that he had in the show, his show, felt extremely self-important that he didn't need to thank the Revival for being in the segment, and oh, by the way, making them look good. The Revival should have been thankful that they were even in the ring with the Generation X. And oh, by the way, you know what? It's all good, and I'd like you to be on my podcast, and I'd love to be on your podcast, and we could talk about this. Another one of those instances where I felt like, get over your effing self.
You know,
if the tradition is you thank the person you're in the ring with,
and you don't have the decency to do it,
don't act like you should be thankful you were even in the ring with me. Shut the F up. Now, part of that, seeing that makes me think, like, okay, maybe FTR is not a guarantee for WWE.
Please.
Maybe they're not.
First of all, Road Dogg should be thanking Triple H and kissing his fucking ass, because if it wasn't for Triple H, Road Dogg would be out of a job. Remember when he was begging AEW for a job? Hey, I can help you guys out. Look at me. I'm the Road Dogg. Really? You have now in 2023 been the least liked member of D-Generation X ever, and that says a lot because X-Pac was in DX. I like X-Pac more than I like the Road Dogg. What? Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, good for you. You could sing a song, buddy. You weren't the fucking Candyman. Your brother was better than you. Your brother's in the FN Marks Hall of Fame, kind of, sort of. Ugh.
Clash 13.
Fuck the Road Dogg. I'm so sick of them. And you know what? The Road Dogg is already on my shit list because of the fact that the Road Dogg had to get this position because Triple H is in charge. It's the only thing about Triple H that he's done since taking over for Vince that I not liked was bringing back the Road Dogg, because they got rid of Jeff Jarrett, and now Jeff Jarrett's fighting for tag team titles on television in 2023 with Jay Lethal. Nothing against Jay Lethal, but the fact that Jeff Jarrett is getting television time in 2023 in a stable that reminds a lot of people of TNA, and it's given and a company that people have already been comparing to TNA, Jeff Jarrett should be fighting for championships, Jay. I don't get it.
Well, hey, for a millisecond, they had the tag team titles on Wednesday.
Daddy ass. Sorry. Billy Gunn is now the most beloved member of D-Generation X. But yes, you're right, Jay. They did have it. And kudos to Jeff Jarrett doing the nefarious thing of trying to separate the referees from each other, making that, I mean, in honest to goodness, leave it to Ref Aubrey to be the person to make
Aubrey
Jeff Jarrett
Edwards.
Yeah, Aubrey Edwards made Jeff Jarrett not the least cringiest person in the ring. Because all she has to do is just show up. And she is automatically the cringiest person in the ring.
Sad.
I'm sorry. I can't. It's about the wrestlers. It's not about the referee dancing around like an asshole. You've never seen Earl Hebner or Mike Chioda or Nick Patrick dancing around like a bunch of fucking jabronis like you see with Ref Autumn.
Or Danny Davis.
Or referee Danny Davis. Or Bill Alfonso. Okay, maybe Bill Alfonso was a bad example. Or referee
Nick Patrick.
Yes, Nick Patrick, who should be a WWE Hall of Famer, by the way.
NWO referee Nick Patrick.
Pee Wee Anderson never did that. John Cone. The Little Nates never did it. And my personal favorite, you've never seen Chad Patton ever do it. Ugh.
Ugh.
She is cringe. Jeff Jarrett is cringe. I swear, Jay Lethal is the best part about the fact that Jeff Jarrett's on TV because Jay Lethal is one of those people in professional wrestling who should be on people's TVs each and every week because he's that damn good. And it's not just because of the fact that he gets a pass because of that woo-off he had with Ric Flair, which is still one of my top 5 greatest things I've witnessed in wrestling. But
yeah,
it's crazy that Jeff Jarrett here in 2023, and his wife's even worse. I can't. I don't, because, okay, all right, somebody needs to explain something to me, okay? Why is it that Max Caster drags Karen Jarrett's name through the mud, and her response is, I'm going to drag Kurt Angle's name instead? Kurt Angle slept with Max Caster, talks shit about you in a rap, so you go out and say that Kurt Angle slept with Kelly Kelly. Did I miss something? Did it go over my head? I know that when I'm brainless and I don't have any brain cells, but Jay, did I miss something?
Karen Jarrett,
is
quite
a very
honestly,
funny word.
I would say it is a savvy wrestling personality and knows that by latching on to this in any way, shape, or form, even if it's dragging her ex-husband into this, might get eyeballs, whether it's for her husband, Jeff Jarrett, or other things. Like, she's not going to spill any beans about anything. This is so... By the way, I'm just going to slightly disagree, Brainless one. So somebody put something on Facebook about, I forget what it was, but you said that you were not going to talk about somebody who has never drawn a dime in professional wrestling, and you were talking about Jeff Jarrett. I'm just going to Wednesday when I was watching AEW Dynamite, I saw one exactly one poster in the audience where somebody says, I came here to see Jeff Jarrett. So he is drawn at least about $20.
Wow. Jay, I'll tell you right now, if Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling wasn't so butthurt about what I did and they had brought us in to work with them, I could have drawn more than $20 in professional wrestling.
Yeah?
I have never, and I'm telling you right now, I'm sorry. I've been a wrestling fan almost forever, 30 some odd years. I have never said in my life, boy, I really need to see that Jeff Jarrett match. I can't even think of a match. The only match that I could think of off the top of my head that Jeff Jarrett was in, that's just like, you know how you have those moments where, you know, Hogan slamming the Giant, Hogan leg dropping Randy Savage, Shawn Michaels throwing Marty
Hogan
Jannetty.
beating Jeff Jarrett because he laid down.
Yep. That's the only thing I remember Jeff Jarrett for, other than the fact that he won the Intercontinental Championship, the Monday Night Raw, after Owen Hart died by beating the Godfather. And they did it because he dedicated the match to Owen Hart. That's the only two things that I've known Jeff Jarrett has done in a wrestling ring other than fighting for the tag team titles. And then I know he likes to hit people with a guitar.
I remember him for losing against China, and I think it was at the Royal Rumble, and it was very misogynist, but it was like they used like a bunch of kitchen utensils because the whole thing was Jeff Jarrett said that women should be in the kitchen and making dinner and making children, and this was, I forget if it was late '99, early 2000. But that was Jeff Jarrett's character.
Jay, I was at. We've talked extensively how many times I've been to WrestleMania 11. I talk ad nauseum about how Roddy Piper ruined what could have actually been the best match of the night.
Ugh.
I talk about the fact that Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow was in the main event. I talk about all the things. Lex Luger was in the opening match of WrestleMania 11. The only person that I forget who actually wrestled at WrestleMania 11 is Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
And he defended the Intercontinental Championship that night. And I still forget that Jeff Jarrett was there. Because to me, Jeff Jarrett is probably the most forgettable person in professional wrestling because he has never drawn more than $30 in his life.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I appreciate him and what he has meant to the Tales from the Territory, because having him there, talking about his dad and everything, I thought that was great. That's the only contribution to professional wrestling that I actually appreciate that Jeff Jarrett has ever done. Not that thing with Jeff, Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett, and the stupid shiny tooth. Fuck, man, I've never hated anybody more just from vignettes.
Speaking of people you hate.
Oh, God. What kind of a segue is this, Jay? You've only eliminated like 32% of the people in professional wrestling. And like half the NFL.
Your favorite tag team in all the world is currently in negotiations to extend their deal with AEW.
Great. Don't care. Oh, boy.
What do you have to say about that beyond don't care?
Okay. I think the Young Bucks know that if they go to WWE, that A, they would get made fun of for being the Young Bucks, and B, they would probably turn into a bunch of fucking dipshits who, the flippy, they know that 6 months in, they're going to end up going up against Omos in a 2-on-1 handicap match and losing. So, of course, they're going back to AEW. Tony Khan can sit there and breastfeed them still. So, there. And you know what? It's 2023, so I can still talk shit about AEW now.
Yeah?
Yes. Let's see. What else? Okay. Yeah, we talked about that. Speaking of AEW and dipshits that are associated with the Young Bucks, we have a new United States champion and the new IWGP United States champion in New Japan, as Will Ospreay somehow, some way, out of 5 stars, him and Kenny Omega had a 6 1/4 match from Dave Meltzer, and now Twinkle Toes McFingerbang is the new United States champion in New Japan.
Maximum Male Models, by the way, won for worst tag team of the year in 2022.
I don't know.
And I don't see them going up the list, to be fair.
I don't see the Young Bucks going up the list. They won it for me. Fuck the Young Bucks. What have they done? They didn't do dick in 2022 except for get their asses kicked by CM Punk and Cousin Chris, who got my humanitarian.
Who looks like bloated Miz. Also, breaking news: The Miz won Alice in Chains Fantasy Football League this year. Mike the Miz has just even more so cemented his GOAT status. Alice in Chains, one of the greatest bands from the 90s. Somehow Mike the Miz is in their fantasy football league and wins it all because he's a fucking GOAT.
Mike the Miz hooked up Alexa Bliss with Ryan Cabrera. Mike the Miz, I'll tell you right now, you want to talk about the greatest character arc of all time? Look at Mike Miz in it. And I'm not even talking about him when he was on The Real World. I'm not even going to talk about that. Because when he first got into WWE, I used to make fun of him because he used to wrestle in capris. His first appearance in the Royal Rumble lasted longer than my relationship to Foxy Grandma.
On top of the fact that your sister ended up seeing him in Hartford and it made you think even lower of him.
Ha! Oh my God, I forgot that my sister met him, and it wasn't even the worst. She said he was a little smug. I think he's gotten a lot better as he's gotten older, but I hated The Miz. I thought he was the worst. I thought he couldn't wrestle to save his life. I used to make fun of him because he wrestled in capri pants. And then him and John Morrison became a tag team, and I was like, all right, these guys are actually pretty entertaining. And then he won the United States Championship. And I saw all that hard work that he put in, especially after finding out how The Undertaker kicked him out of the locker room for getting crumbs in a bag.
I think that was more to do with JBL.
Probably.
Although Undertaker probably just was the enforcer. He was the Arn Anderson of the situation.
Right. And, yes. And honestly, to go from where The Miz was to the fact that he is a former WWE champion, a former arguably
multiple-time WWE champion,
two-time WWE champion, arguably the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. It's either him or Jericho or Pedro Morales. It's one of those three. They're all in that discussion. But former United States champion, former tag team champion, WrestleMania main eventer, Money in the Bank winner. In The Miz, name me 10 people on the mic that are better than The Miz. Without saying can you come up with 10 people better on the mic than The Miz? I think that
Tim, I just need to answer Tim's question. So, if you're talking original Alice in Chains, there are 2 members still alive, but the dudes who's playing bass in Alice in Chains right now has been there since 1993. 30 years in the band tells me that. I mean, he's not an original member, but he's been there long enough. The new singer is the main difference. The new singer has been there since 2006. To be fair.
How is there more living members of Motley Crue than members of Alice in Chains?
I mean, all of Motley Crue is still alive, even though one of them can't really stand anymore.
Mick Mars that's because Mick Mars is 137 years old and he retired. They're like, right. Yeah, Mick Mars retired. Really? How long has he been in forever? Well, how old is he? I don't know. Nobody knows how old Mick Mars.
You know what? One thing I can assure you of, he is not as old as Bobby Fish.
Oh, nobody.
Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel, Bobby Fish. Then Seth.
I don't know.
Seth.
I don't know.
Because Seth was another son of Adam and Eve. Bobby Fish, I think, was before Seth.
Yes, but where was Ric Flair?
I think Ric Flair was after Seth. I don't know how far after.
I thought that Ric Flair, it was Adam, Eve, and then Ric Flair. Because it was the serpent that told Eve to tell Adam to eat the apple, and then it was Ric Flair that came in and chopped the serpent away to get rid of it. That's how I remember it.
Maybe.
Alice in Chains, Motley Crue, or Keith Richards by himself.
Keith Richards was there the night that John Belushi OD'd and died. You're talking about a dude that is about as thick as a string bean, outliving the fat, funny dude.
It's funny that
he also outlived Chris Farley.
And John Candy.
Also a fat, funny dude.
And John Candy.
So, Keith Richards. Keith Richards or Ozzy Osbourne, but I'm going to go with Keith Richards.
My favorite, I'm glad you said Ozzy Osbourne. Because
New album.
My favorite part about Ozzy Osbourne is that Ozzy Osbourne left the United States and moved back to England because he said, quote, "It's too crazy for me in the United States." How bad does this country have to be if we scare away the Prince of Darkness?
And ironically enough, the Prince of England got scared into the United States.
How is that a fair I mean, come on, that's like trading. Hold on. That's like trading.
Is that like trading Heathcliff Slocum for Derek Lowe and Jason Varitek?
No. It's like trading Bobby Fish for Carson Wentz. Because Prince Harry looks like Carson Wentz. Timmy knows. That's because former Redskins starting quarterback, Prince Henry or Prince Harry. Tell me you've seen Prince Harry and Carson Wentz in the same room together on the same field together.
You haven't.
So I just can't get over that. That might have been my favorite headline from 2022. Ozzy Osbourne moves back to England. United States was too crazy for me. You know what else is crazy, Jay?
What's that brainless one?
WWE released Mandy Rose because of her little fan page that she has. So she raised the price on the fan page. And because she raised the price and she got a lot of subscribers because of her release, she made a lot of money last month. In the month of December, Mandy Rose made a cool $1 million.
The five-time champ still thinks it was a bad idea for her to do what she did and thinks that this money will not last her. He could possibly be right, but she doesn't need to make $1 million every month as long as she is not living well beyond her means. It seems like the five-time champ thinks that she is living beyond her means and that this money is not going to last.
No, it's not even just.
I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to say that Mandy is set for life, and she, at this point, can do what the F she wants. If she wants to come back to professional wrestling, she can. Yep. If she wants to put up her middle finger and walk down the road, she can. I think Booker T is just literally doubling down because he's like, well, I can't backtrack from this, so I'm just going to double down on it and say, she's not going to do well. All that being said, Booker T is now officially the color commentator for all the times for NXT. And he's sitting there kind of flaunting and talking about how Wade Barrett doesn't have a job to go back to an NXT when Pat McAfee comes back shortly. I don't believe that for a second. Wade Barrett, if they didn't have faith in him, they wouldn't have brought him up to SmackDown. they're going to find a position for him, whether it's on Raw or SmackDown with McAfee. So, but Booker T, like, again, he's feeling like high and mighty when he's talking like this. And quite honestly, as much as I love Book, it makes me want to be like, dude, shut the F up.
And you know me, I love me some Booker T.
Yeah.
Between that and the fact that he's got some kind of bug up his butt about the freaking New Day. Like, oh, they'll be gone as soon, they'll be back to irrelevancy once they lose the NXT Tag Team title. Book, remember when you were celebrating with them in the ring? Tell me I didn't just see that.
Right.
I love, and believe me, I love Booker T. I was so thrilled when I found out he was going back to NXT, but he's kind of become like that old, bitter old man too. It sounds like he's got sour grapes now. He's like, he's got to put his 2 cents in there. It's now to a point like when it's like him or the Road Dogg or Vince Russo. I don't care. Oh, the Disco Inferno. He's not even a freaking legend. Former
Das
WWE
Wonderkind is a bigger legend than him.
20-some odd years later, I still know the Das Wonderkind dance.
Right.
Alex Wright.
You know what? Chris Brown, if this leads to Wade Barrett making an in-ring return, I'm not against that.
Same.
I know I don't think Wade Barrett is looking for an in-ring return, although he said, hey, if it happens, it happens. I will get back in the ring at some point. Maybe this is the year. I'm just not feeling it. It doesn't feel like they're building towards something with him at this moment.
Is he like the ultimate where it was like wasted potential? He had so much potential after.
Thanks, John Cena.
And I don't even think it really was John Cena's fault. Because
2010 SummerSlam. Thank you.
Correctly,
I know that a couple months later that he was in Survivor Series against John Cena for the title and had Randy Orton as like the special enforcer, and they figured out a way to
reverse it.
Okay.
It was Orton was the champion and Cena was the referee.
Either way, like Cena kicking out after getting DDT'd on the fucking concrete. No. Never, ever, 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 ever.
I don't know. I mean, we talk about that ad nauseum too. The 2010 John Cena no sell.
You know what we don't talk ad nauseum? Clash 13.
I was about to say Shawn Michaels 5 years previously. I'm sorry, Jay.
You go from the greatest oversell job to the greatest no sell job in 5 years.
That's the thing on the scale of Shawn Michaels 2005 SummerSlam and Cena 2010 SummerSlam. Where are we on the selling level? That's the opposite ends of the spectrum. Although Kenny Omega does a hell of a job at no selling everything.
Except for the Canadian Destroyer to blow up doll.
Jesus Christ. That was in my top 10 worst days of 2022. Was the day I watched that video of Kenny Omega and the blow up doll having.
What day was that?
I don't even remember. I tried to Jay, I smoked a lot of pot after I watched that video. Okay, I had to wipe out my. I don't have a deneuralizer, and that's the closest thing I have to one. Okay.
Did you listen to Soundgarden's "I Fell on Black Days" after that?
No, but I had to listen to "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd to get me in the right mood. So, because that's exactly what I was, comfortably numb.
I like that, man.
Oh shit.
So there are a whole bunch of things I still have notes-wise. One thing I'd like to put out there is that New Japan will be running shows in the United States in April. They're going to have shows in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. I need to find out times because maybe, just maybe, I'll make my way up to the nation's capital and watch some New Japan. As long as, Dave Meltzer's not there, I'll go.
Oh, he could be there. He just got to be on like the other end of the building. So if he's sitting in like section 107, you got to be in like 129, just as far away so you're not in the splash zone.
Right.
Plus, it's not a guarantee that Kenny Omega will be there either. So, oh wait, that's right. That's
he's
dumb
a champion.
I forgot. I keep forgetting he's a champion because it's Kenny Omega.
He's the U.S. champion.
Because he's not Okada, who's the world heavyweight champion. Speaking of Omega and all those guys, Will Ospreay, who has been climbing up the Brainless totem pole of late, has said that his contract is also up at the beginning of 2024. And he has thought of the idea of moving to the United States. He says, with my anxiety, he goes, I got a small bit of it. He goes, I don't know if I could handle it all in once, but it was such a great moment for him when he showed up and had the fans at AEW, and he enjoyed it. I could see Will Ospreay making the jump to the United States in 2024, and I wouldn't rule out him going to WWE.
Yeah?
I know that there's a lot of animosity between him and Kenny Omega. If Kenny Omega is still an EVP and Triple H is still in power and Vince is, golfing or, playing WWE 2K and pretending he's still in charge, I could see Will Ospreay coming to WWE. He's kind of like that Seth Rollins built where he's really tall. He's skinny, but he's tall. But he can go up against anybody.
And Ospreay does want to go against Seth Rollins.
And he talks about how AJ Styles was the person that got him into New Japan and helped out his entire career. I'll tell you right now, a couple of years ago, I would say there's no fucking way that Ospreay's going to go to WWE. I think the fact that Kenny Numbnuts is still in charge in AEW, plus the fact that if AJ Styles is still there, I don't know how much longer his contract is, but who knows? Maybe they keep him around as, kind of like on the Legends deal. Why the hell not? It's AJ Styles.
Right.
I'd like to see, and honestly, I would like to see Will Ospreay because at the end of the day, he's less of a douchebag than Kenny Omega.
And the young fucks.
Because Kenny does the things to exploit wrestling to make it look as fake as possible, whereas Will Ospreay just goes in there and has great matches and looks choreographed. But at least he's not going in there and fighting a sex doll.
Yeah.
Plus, I fucking love Aussie Open. They're one of my new favorite tag teams.
Speaking of having a match with it not looking like going against a sex doll, we had one Shinsuke Nakamura going against the Great Muta. And Nakamura comes out on top within this match and ended up using nefarious tactics, spraying the Great Muta's own green mist into his eyes to get the victory. You know me. I'm a fucking Muta mark.
Me too.
I like Nakamura. And they're saying that the green mist into Muta was the I'm sorry, I love you for Shinsuke to the Great Muta. Great Muta, who was in some ways a part of Clash 13 because he was a part of the number 2 ranked tag team in the Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team. Yeah,
national tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm glad that Hunter was in charge because Vince would not have allowed this to happen. I'm glad that Nakamura got to have this match with one of the GOATs.
Yep.
And got to, Muta is going out, doing the honors for the people that he feels are worthy of it, and he felt Nakamura was worthy of this. You know, the King of Strong style, winning against the GOAT.
And if memory serves me correctly, I don't think we put Muta in last year or the year before in our Hall of Fame, did we?
No.
I want to put him in this year. I know that we usually wait until like November or December to announce people for the Hall of Fame. I want to put Muta in. If this is his farewell tour, and we're going to see the end of one of the greatest international wrestlers' careers, a guy who is, without question, a Hall of Famer, let alone just one of our Hall of Famers. I'm telling you right now, end of the year, I'm putting Muta in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah?
Yeah? We talk about Muta
His
all the time.
stuff with Sting, like back in the late 80s, like early 90s, legendary. Like Flair was the champ, but for me, it felt a little bit more important because, like, you saw it every week at 6:05 on the Superstation. Like, the TV champion would be on there, and he and Sting, like, had quite the feud. So much so that, like, that's where Muta's, like, ending his career with "This is Sting."
Sting! Hey, F. Mark's Hall of Famer, Gary Michael Capetta.
And F. Mark's Hall of Famer, Sting.
And F. Mark's Hall of Famer, Sting. Yes. But yeah, I'm putting Muta in. Try to stop me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of WWE.
Speaking of Sting, I'm gonna go with speaking of Sting, and we're gonna segue into his partner in AEW.
Was on my
one
list.
Darby Allin.
Yep.
So Darby Allin, like as far as the AEW audience has gone, they've done all they can to really make him a prime attraction, a pillar of that company. And he's been through some stuff, and you know, he's had some matches, this, that, and the other thing. This week on Dynamite, they were in Seattle, Washington, which is very close to, you know, where Darby grew up. And Tony Khan being very un-Vince McMahon-like, put the TNT title on one Darby Allin. Now, not that long ago, we had the TNT Championship on Wardlow.
Yep.
And they ended up having there was a feud that was built between he and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe ends up getting the TNT Championship. And I love the moniker that he came up with. And it wasn't the greatest Girl Scout cookie seller. It was the King of TV because he was the TV champion of Ring of Honor and more or less the TV champion of AEW.
Never seen anybody sell Samoans like he did, though, Jay.
No. Never, ever. All that being said, like, I understand you want to send a crowd home happy. I understand you want to get a pop. If you want to do those things, set it up on pay-per-view. They could have gone to Seattle for their next big show, their next big pay-per-view, and had a long storyline set up between Darby Allin and Samoa Joe. Tony Khan chose to go the short-sighted, in my view, short-sighted route of, hey, this is his hometown crowd. They're going to love him. We need to get a big pop for this dude who we have a lot of belief in, who we want to be a big deal. And I understand that Dynamite will get more viewership than a pay-per-view. I do.
Okay.
But you had more or less an unbeatable monster in Wardlow that you took the title off to put it on Joe. Okay, I could see Joe being somebody that, like, okay, you could beat Wardlow with that. But then you put it on a guy who's like half the size of Samoa Joe. Now, with the way they booked the match, Darby Allin as a face cheating pre-bell, I guess technically speaking not cheating, but he's beating the hell out of Samoa Joe with a fucking chair and doing all sorts of crazy Jeff Harvey shit onto Samoa Joe to get himself an advantage. I see all that. I understand all that. But Samoa Joe has not had that title for all that long of a time. And quite honestly, I would say since like Cody's last reign is the TNT champion, I mean, the title every couple of months is on somebody else. How am I supposed to take this seriously?
It's funny that you say that because I was going to mention to you, what do Sammy Guevara, Cody Rhodes, Scorpio Sky, Samoa Joe, Wardlow, and Darby Allin all have in common?
I think they're all multiple-time TNT champions.
They have all held the TNT championship since Jade Cargill won the TBS title 1 year ago yesterday.
To an extent, I understand getting the title off Wardlow because you don't want Wardlow and Jade Cargill to, like, you can't tell the same story where you got this unbeatable, like, monster, whether it's Wardlow or Cargill, right?
Right.
You can't have the secondary title have the unbeatable monster while you got the champion on top who, you know, that title changes hands a couple times. I am, like, as much as Cargill has kind of come out and said, like, hey, I don't want the women's championship right now.
She's doing more for the TBS title than she needs. She is doing to the TBS title what Walter or Gunther has done for the Intercontinental Championship. She has made the TBS Championship more relevant than they could have ever imagined. She was the perfect person to put it on. And the fact that I saw somebody on Twitter post something that almost got me in trouble that I was going to get suspended, that I didn't, luckily. But they said that Sasha Banks should come in and buy the TBS Championship from Jade Cargill. I almost went into suspension on Twitter. Luckily, I backed out and I canceled my tweet. Because I'm pretty sure that what I said, my mother would have probably been disgusted. Just saying. Because it didn't make any sense why Sasha, who was mad that she didn't get the WWE or the SmackDown Women's Championship at WrestleMania because she lost out because of Ronda Rousey returning, so she was the odd woman out, had the tag team championships, and she was mad because of the main title. I don't see her going into AEW and buying the TBS Championship, the secondary title, who's only had one champion, who has never lost a match. I don't see. I don't care if she is the CEO instead of the boss. And she has money because she's Mercedes Money or Monet. I don't care. If they did that, it's fucking stupid. That's the Ted DiBiase shit when he bought the title from Andre, and they should still recognize Ted DiBiase to this day as WWE champion.
Yeah!
Yeah? And honestly, it's the fact that the title has changed 8 times. 8 times, Jay. In just a hair over a year, 8 times the TNT title has changed hands. All these years that we've been sitting there and crucifying WWE for the fact that they hot potatoed the U.S. title and the Intercontinental Championship. up until recently the Intercontinental, but so we got to give them the same grief. The title's changed 14 times since its inception in just over 2 years.
Yeah. So much as I understand getting the loud pop and like, in Seattle specifically, they have a very loud crowd.
Yep.
And you had not only Darby Allin, but you also had, Bryan Danielson there, and you were going to get loud reactions. I don't know. They did not get the reactions that the GOAT with Captain Cupcake got.
No,
nobody does. Not even MJF got that.
Bryan Danielson, yes, I'd say Bryan Danielson has gotten that. Like you've said, even when he turned on the Wyatt family, he shook a building in Rhode Island. You felt that building shake when Daniel Bryan is the exception to every single rule. Daniel Bryan has goated himself. I'd say that he is the one that would get that type of reaction. But here's my problem. So what is this going to mean? That now that you have this secondary championship, so like 2 months down the road, when they're at Powerhouse Hobbs' hometown, they're going to have him win the belt from Darby Allin, and then 3 weeks later, they're going to be in, they're going to be in North Carolina, so Matt Hardy can win the TNT title, and then
going to be in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and they're going to decide that they need to put it on Rhino.
They're going to bring in Big Papa Pump. Scott Steiner's going to win the TNT title. And at some point, I'm curious.
The numbers don't lie.
I know I'm not going to – this notebook
If he won the TNT title from Samoa Joe, I would have been okay with that.
Well, that's because Samoa Joe knows he has no chance. Because he has an 8 1/3 chance of winning the match, where we all know that Scott Steiner has 143 2/3 chance of winning this match, Jay. The numbers don't lie, and it's a disaster for you and sacrifice Senor Joe. If I could actually remember all of that by heart, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
But speaking of Bryan Danielson and MJF, they're starting to build up that MJF is going to be feuding with Bryan Danielson. So MJF was like, "Oh, you want a shot at the title?" Well, and I was like, "Oh, here we go. I think I know where this is going. I'm going to have you go through the 5 stages of hell to get to the championship." No shit. Really? Just like you did to Cody. Just like you did to CM Punk. Just like you did to
Wardlow.
What are you going to – at what point? Is stage 4 going to be when you whip the shit out of Bryan Danielson just like you did to everybody else? And who are you going to bring in this time? I mean, Big Bill? Big Bill. Ooh, Bryan Danielson and Big Bill. Oh, that's going to put Dynamite on the map of greatest wrestling things ever. You remember when Big Ass fought Daniel Bryan and then got fired?
Yeah.
Ugh. But why?
Honestly, one of the most disappointing things I saw on television this week was them making Danielson and MJF making mom jokes. Both of them are way better than this, and it felt, quite honestly, the whole segment felt like it was scripted by Vince McMahon.
I still can't. Jay, I'm sorry. I can't get over the fact that we're doing the copy-paste storyline once again with MJF. After I'm already tired of listening to him say, well, my contract expires and I'm going to be a free agent. So, yeah, no shit. We know you're going to be a free agent in 2024. I can't wait until you say 309 times this year that you're going to bring the AEW championship to WWE. I can't wait until you do this. I can't wait until your next rivalry so you can do the 5 stages of death again with whoever the fuck it is so we can have Nick Gage or freaking, I don't know, Hammerstone fucking show up. Is this where Nick Aldis is going to come in? Oh my God, Nick Aldis is
He's a free agent.
He's going to come in, fight Bryan Danielson, and then he's going to go do what?
He is going to go enjoy his wife, Mickie James, and good for him.
I don't understand. Why does MJF think he's fucking Bill Murray and Groundhog Day? I don't want to keep seeing the same fucking copy repeat.
Put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hill, no mountain we can't climb.
Shane, we don't even have to worry about cholesterol. What?
I am a god. I'm not the god.
Oh, it's not.
I have been stabbed. I have been poisoned. He didn't mention that he put the toaster in while he was taking the bathroom, or taking the freaking Nestea plunge off the top of the church into the middle of the road.
Or when he took the groundhog and drove it off the cliff.
Yeah, into the valley, into the quarry, into the canyon, into the Chris Canyon.
I don't say this enough either. I loved Chris Elliott in that movie, by the way. He was fantastic. He was fantastic in that whole.
When he gave, my favorite thing with him is when he gave the tip to show off to the girl, and then he took the tip away.
I said I can see Chris Elliott doing that. Oh shit! But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm tired of the MJF. Like he's starting to get played out, and it's like he's gonna start. People are gonna start turning on him because I'm already at that point.
He needs to evolve.
He does. I'm curious to see what happens with him as the champion. I think this is a good thing for him. It's a good stepping stone. It's going to be a good experience for him. But, like I said, I'm tired of him already saying I'm going to be a free agent in 2024. I'm already tired of the fact that this is now the 4th time we're going to get the 5 stages of death leading up to a match with MJF. I mean, what's going to happen in 6 months? We're going to do this again with Wardlow? Is he going to put Ricky Starks through this shit? I mean, What the fuck? What if CM Punk comes back? Are they going to make CM Punk do that? Kenny Omega? Hangman Page?
Ugh.
I'm tired of it. But speaking.
So, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Speaking of MJF, somebody associated with MJF is now back in WWE as one William Regal took on his new position earlier this week with WWE. Apparently, he's going to be having an executive vice president position, and I think he's going to be EVP of talent relations.
Is this going to be the worst decision of his life because of what happened yesterday?
We'll see. Only time will tell. Probably, but I still think that was the most egregious of all the terminations. And I will say this, though, because Vince did fire William Regal, but he let him out of his non-compete. He didn't have to do that.
Right.
I think that
he has some respect for Regal.
I think a lot of everybody's got respect. Well, maybe not a lot of the guys in the AEW locker room, but a lot of people have respect for Regal. He's in the right position. He's going to do nothing but good things for WWE, whether it's for all the wrestlers or if his legitimate son or his illegitimate son on SmackDown. Regal is there to help benefit and make the rest of the talent better. Because he's the perfect person to have as an ear to talk to.
So, couple of things as far as WWE goes, notes-wise. Montez Ford is going to be dropping an album
Interesting.
upon all of us, and it's coming out in March. And so the album is called SYAD, and his first single is LMTYO. So apparently there's going to be an awful lot of initials and acronyms going on with the Montez Ford album. They're calling it a hip-hop album, but like the song, the first single sounds more R&B than it sounds hip-hop to me. And it sounds fine, but it definitely sounds like he enjoys and is a fan of like New Jack Swing from like the late 80s, early 90s. So like, you're thinking Bobby Brown, Belle Biv DeVoe, and artists like that.
So am I, Chris. We're all waiting for Elias's new I guess
Elias should come out with an album every other week.
you should do a duet with Rick Boogs.
Boogs.
I don't want to see Rick Boogs. I don't want to see Rick Boogs on my TV ever again.
Hey, Boogs is going to come out. He's going to be one of the surprise entrants. I bet.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
By the way, in Montez Ford's music video, he pays tribute to Michael Jackson by wearing one white glove, but also pays tribute to the Street Profits by having the red Solo cup.
Love it. It's such good shit. And anything that Main Event Montez Ford wants to do, the Brainless one is on board with. He wants to do an album, I'm on board with it. If he wants to Main Event WrestleMania, I'm on board with it. If he wants to win every tag team championship on planet Earth, I'm on board with it. I'm on board with Montez Ford. Ugh.
At this moment, by the way, speaking of WrestleMania, 100,000 tickets have been sold to SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles for the 2 nights. They say they're nearing sellout for both nights.
Awesome.
Now, I think SoFi Stadium actually holds like 70 to 75,000 people. So, like, there's still more room, but we haven't even hit the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
I think
they weren't too long.
A lot of people are making that assumption that The Rock is going to be there, or like some other ginormous names will be there in some sort of wrestling capacity.
I will say this: don't discount Cody Rhodes coming back and having his WrestleMania moment this year. I don't think that we can discount that, because I know a lot of people from Europe are going to be on board with that. That is going to be, obviously, the thought of Steve Austin being there and the possibility. I mean, Cena, I'm almost positive Cena's going to be there. And if Cena could get them 2.7 million views for his match, which is the highest that any segment on SmackDown has been in a long time.
Now, was that
because
for Cena or for the bald spot on Cena's head?
It was for the black eye that Kevin Owens had.
Can you imagine a cupcake with a black eye?
That's what he got the black eye from. Somebody threw a cupcake at him, hit him in the face.
Yeah, they had one of those, the T-shirt throwers, except for it was throwing cupcakes, and it smacked him in the eye.
Wasn't that one of the 10 injuries that he sustained a few weeks ago? He got hurt.
I think so.
A cupcake in it. I know he's. Yeah, I'm not even gonna go. It's too far back. My only note that I had left is something else that happened on SmackDown. So I know that a lot of.
I'm gonna say I probably have the same note, but I've got a couple other notes. But we'll go with it.
I know a lot of people have been saying that this whole Bray Wyatt thing has been dragged out because they just want to see him wrestle, and he's just been cutting promos since he returned at, Extreme Rules. I love Bray Wyatt. I love when he's on my TV. He's a great talker on the mic. I'd rather have just like I said about Brock Lesnar, I feel the same way about Bray Wyatt. Any Bray Wyatt is better than no Bray Wyatt. So now this whole thing with him and LA Knight, and I'll tell you, LA Knight is doing a hell of a job in this, making me want to, I'm fully invested in LA Knight and fucking Bray Wyatt. And they're going to have this
An Uncle
lights
Howdy
out match. Yeah.
pitch black match.
A pitch black match that nobody knows anything about. So finally, LA Knight is sitting there and he's confronting Bray Wyatt and saying, "You're the Uncle Howdy, you're the Uncle Howdy, you're the Uncle Howdy." Well, Uncle Howdy comes out to the ring. He gets in the ring, he stands next to Bray Wyatt, and everybody's like, "Holy shit. Like Uncle Howdy's here and it's not Bray Wyatt." I mean, we all know who it is, but and then Uncle Howdy attacked Bray Wyatt. He hit him with Sister Abigail.
You just gotta believe.
Bray Wyatt 2 weeks ago. Hell, I even dedicated memes, even though I didn't really want to because I love Bray Wyatt, but I dedicated memes to how boring and how overcooked this storyline is becoming to now being the most compelling story once again on WWE.
So apparently we're not talking about the same thing.
Okay.
All right.
I was so I was stunned when that happened. I was like, holy shit, I did not expect Uncle Howdy to attack Bray Wyatt. It was beautiful. because now nobody knows what the fuck to expect. It's crazy. What do you got, Jay?
During SmackDown last week, we ended up having the Ricochet coming down to the ring with a chair to help out his buddy Braun Strowman. He ended up walloping Gunther with a chair, and like he was busted open big time. Like they cut the cameras away. One of the few times the Bucktooth Beaver with his cutaways to the audience actually was
It actually worked.
It worked and made sense. But apparently, like immediately, he was busted open and bleeding all over the place. And I don't know. I'm gonna guess that wasn't a receipt for the fact that the week before in the Miracle on 34th Street match, Ricochet got his a freaking giant fucking egg on his head and got busted open. I don't think that was specifically because of that, Gunther fucking bled and bled and bled and shit, man.
That receipt he's gonna get for that is gonna be.
And they had that match a few weeks ago, and yep. I mean, he got clobbered with the hand of Walter.
And I'll tell you this much, Jay. That receipt is going to be another hand to the chest. His chest is going to look like Kofi Kingston's.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot about that, and because I remember like when it happened, you see the guy in the crowd when he hits him, you could tell by the look on the member of the crowd, like, ooh, that was not a good hit. Like even he knew that Ricochet was about to get fucked up.
Yeah. So there was that. And that'll be another thing. Outside of being in Vince McMahon's cereal, Ricochet is going to end up at the bottom of the card again. He's going to end up below Lothario's and Maximum Male models. And LA Knight is going to find himself also back as Max Dupree, and he's going to be titillating the senses of everybody watching SmackDown every week. That's just going to be a shame. But these people will not be titillating anybody's senses, at least in WWE, for a little bit of time. Tyler Bate, Dragunov, JD McDonough, Piper Niven, and Gallus Man, because they are having visa issues.
Ooh.
Occasionally, this happens with talent who are from overseas. I don't know why it keeps on being a thing that comes up over and over again. I'm just not. I don't know the law well enough, but you would think that they would know 5-6 months ahead of time, hey, visa is coming up. I need to get this straightened out before I can't work here anymore. I remember it happened with the Iconics a few years ago, and I don't know why this keeps being a problem, but I mean, we've got a handful of people who are now like not going to be performing in WWE, at least the time being, outside of Tyson Fury, who I'm sure would love to be at the Royal Rumble, would love to be at WrestleMania. Visa issues are not going to make that happen unless Vince McMahon pays some people off like he did with Jimmy Snuka. And
see, I'm gonna say that I'm not even against the wrestlers here because I don't even think it's really their fault.
No, it's not the wrestler's fault.
It's the government's fault. As a former government employee, oh God, is there a freaking red light? Okay. As a former government employee, and the fact that my father is dealing with this stuff with the government with my brother, I know it's the government. That's the reason why there's visa issues, because as Ron Swanson, never mind, I'm not even going to go into that. But Ron Swanson is right. Ron Swanson is absolutely 100% right about the government.
Ugh.
So, yeah, that would explain why we haven't seen Dewdrop. And I hope that now that she's been away from TV for a while, and
maybe her name will come back as fucking Piper Niven instead of fucking Dewdrop.
I would love
you. I mean, Dewdrop is not quite Red Rooster level, but it is close. You want to talk about like taking somebody who's talented and saddling them with a piece of shit, whether it's Dominic Dijakovic, who you tried to, I mean, you would think that is a dude that like everything Vince wants in a guy. You would think a guy like Walter and his build is everything Vince kind of wants in a guy. And just because there's an accent, Vince is Vince and does his shit. I hope, again, my hope, based off of what we've been talking about for a lot of the show, that Vince quite literally is behind the scenes trying to sell the company and or trying to get the rights for their next TV deal, and that's it.
I hope so too.
I hope he doesn't get his hands on the creative. I hold, like at this point, I would say 5-1 odds that Vince, like 5 times Vince gets involved, 1 time he doesn't get involved.
Okay.
That would be my odds. So
well, I got two words.
The favorite in the fucking race is Vince is going to get involved and shit on some people who don't deserve it.
The only reason that I'm surprised is that it's January 5th that he came back. I figured it would be at least June before we saw Vince. Sometime after WrestleMania, I figured Vince was going to fucking start getting that itch back. But I got 2 words for you there, buddy, because you want to talk about shitty gimmicks. Slapjack.
If Slapjack was only on Clash 13.
Oh, God, Jay, that would have been, no. Because you'd have to take
and had a pretzel butt while watching Great Gatsby.
Oh, God. Oh.
All right, quick, so I have another thing on my notes.
Go ahead.
NWA Power returns to YouTube Tuesdays at 6:05, not on the Superstation, on YouTube, and they're going to start. They're starting immediately. Now they had a deal going where they were airing their shows, and I think on Fight TV and or part of like their streaming app for them, but they are now going back to YouTube so they can have their own audience tuning in on a weekly basis, and they are actually having their first live NWA Power at the end of this month in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Awesome.
So they've got that. They also are in partnership with AAA, and they're having an event in Mexico, and I believe it's in March. So
that's exactly that's what we need. We need the Funkasaurus going up against like 8 Mexican midgets.
Or against Alberto Del Rio.
Oh, God, please no. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's like Michael Scott with Vince McMahon coming back. Beyond that, they're still going to have their pay-per-views available only on Fight TV. But, all in all, this is a very positive step for me for NWA, where they're not trying to compete with AEW or WWE. They're trying to slowly but surely build their audience, and I appreciate the fact that they go with the big fat guys as like the people they want to have champion. They want to have like the dudes who are the beer drinker and ass kickers, very, very like 70s and 80s feel for professional wrestling.
And they got to make sure that Tyrus is not hosting for Greg Gutfeld or the 5 that day when they have NWA Power at 6:05.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen. I will say this. I've flipped through the channels on Fox News, and I just happened to catch him on there. Boy, does that title look pretty. That NWA Heavyweight Champ. I didn't think it was that good looking, and then now I've seen it. I'm like, man, that belt is beautiful. The old school NWA
Yeah.
World Heavyweights. Oh man, that's one of the better looking belts.
I enjoyed the fact that they just refer to it as the 10 pounds of gold.
Yep.
So,
I remembered where Toby went. It just dawned on me like 2 hours later. Toby went to Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And he came back from Costa Rica, and that's when Michael saw him because he didn't think he was in the annex. And again, one of the greatest cold opens to a show ever.
No!
God,
Please!
no, please!
God!
God.
No! No!
It's good shit.
No!
And Mindy Kaling said this show wouldn't last now. It's on 3 different channels on television.
Wrong.
It's on 3 different channels on television. I pay $5 a month to Peacock, not for the WWE Network. No, so I can watch Dwight Schrute and Ron
Swanson.
Yep. But I think I got everything on my list. You have anything else, Jay?
That's everything on my list.
All right. So real quickly, before I forget, because I said I was going to tee off on somebody before the show.
Oh, yeah.
Vince McMahon returning, he brought back with him to the board after he let 3 people go. He brought in with him returning Michelle Wilson and George Barrios. Now, I really don't know too much about Michelle Wilson, but if she was gone with Vince, then there's a reason why she was gone. And I will say this, it is incredible. It is absolutely incredible that George Barrios is back. Because I see this as in a positive light. Because if anything happens to the Titantron, they can just show the entrance videos on his fucking forehead. That man's forehead is so big it's got his own congressman. It's funny because they have to keep Kevin Dunn away from him because he thinks the forehead is a dam.
How many damn pictures do you want?
What size hat is George Barrios? 27? Triple E? Like the Big Show's boot? Or whatever the fuck it is?
Yeah.
That would be one hell of an atomic facepalm.
I want to see Walter.
If Walter tried to chop that, he'd break his hand.
I don't know what it is about your face, but I just want to put my fist into your sinkhole, your suckhole.
George Barrios' forehead is just like Cassius Ohno in his match with Matt Riddle, where he gained 50 pounds throughout the match, where his forehead just keeps getting taller and wider, and it's like, how does he get into the room? It's like Nordberg when he had the fro in Naked Gun 33 and a third. Come in, Lieutenant. I just had to get I had to get that out there, that the Mr. Forehead is back in WWE, and I just cannot say how happy I am to see George Barrios back.
Yeah. He's at the head of the table. He's at the forefront of everything.
He wants to be the head of talent relations.
People power. By the way, people power has been denied.
Oh.
He was supposed to be in his first wrestling-related event since his release from WWE. And the publicity was so bad, they had to take him off the show. People power.
Which is fine, because with George Barrios, they're just going to write WrestleMania on his forehead and have the wrestlers point at that instead.
That's what Cody's going to point at. Yeah.
Adrenaline in my forehead, ready to explode the room. Oh, that was terrible. I'm sorry. All right, I guess it's time for our good, our bad, and our brainless.
Yeah.
So what do you got for your good this week, Cousin Jay?
I'm going with Shinsuke Nakamura against the Great Muta. The ending, the passing of the torch, I mean, Nakamura ain't no spring chicken at this point, but I mean, Great Muta, clearly in late December of his career, doing the honors. I love the fact that Nakamura used the green mist against the man who used green mist to put out a damn fire at Halloween Havoc 1989.
Yep. The GOAT, Muta. Future F. Marks Hall of Famer, the Great Muta. My good this week goes out to Devin Hamlin. Devin Hamlin is the starting safety for the Buffalo Bills. On Monday during the game, he got hit really hard in the chest, leading to cardiac arrest. Damar Hamlin? I'm sorry. Damar Hamlin got hit in the chest, leading to cardiac arrest. He has been on a respirator until today. They took him off the respirator. He's breathing, he's functioning, and it looks like, I don't know if his football career is going to continue, but he looks like he's going to live somewhat of a normal life considering what has happened. Now, the reason that it's my good, yes, him, surviving this is incredible considering the mortality rate. But the fact is that people throughout the world, including the GOAT of GOATs, who has goated more than GOATs have ever goated in the history of GOATdom, have donated over $6.5 million to his charity. Chris Jericho, because I think it's a $10,000 max, Chris Jericho put his name as CHRUS Jericho and then Chris Jericho so that he could donate $20,000 to the cause. The fact that the kid is going to make it and the fact that there was $6.5 million made towards his charity, I'm sorry. Any other week I would give it to wrestling, but that's just too good for me to not mention today. Especially because Chris Jericho donated.
Yeah.
So, it's good. It's such good shit, pal. What do you got for your bad?
There are a couple of ways I really could have gone in it, and if I was going the non-wrestling route, which I'm not going to do this week, it might be Roger Goodell, because rumors are that he was saying, hey, they need to warm up and get ready to keep this game going 5 minutes from now. Because I don't put it beyond that asshole to be like, hey, we got to do this game. And, within a day later, they're like, no, we weren't thinking that. We weren't going to do that. Clear, what I believe happened is the head coaches were like, oh, hell no.
That's exactly what happened.
We had a dude who might die. We're not playing this effing game right now.
Yep, Sean McDermott and I think it's Sean McDermott is the head coach of the Bills.
Yes.
Him and Zach Taylor got together. Yeah, and they discussed and they said we cannot play this game. There was no way. T. Higgins hasn't let the guy
honestly. Yeah.
I couldn't do it. And it's just, and I'll say this, I will applaud the NFL because unlike Vince McMahon, they actually stopped the game. So, but I can see.
All that being said, I'm not going that direction as much as I could have gone that direction with just a bad in general as being piece of shits. I'm going with the road dog here.
Okay.
Road Dogg, specifically on his podcast, so Dax Harwood more or less made a little bit of a stink of at Raw 25 when the Revival had their segment with DX. Harwood came out and said, hey, when we went backstage, there was no thank you, there was no whatever, we just went backstage and it was what it was. The wrestler etiquette is when you have a segment or you have a match with somebody, when you get backstage, you shake their hand, and you thank them for the segment. It doesn't matter where you are on the card.
Yep.
You're supposed to thank them. Road Dogg apparently didn't shake hands, didn't talk with the Revival after this. And Harwood he's like, you know, it is what it is. You know, we got in the ring with DX and it was a big deal. But they didn't show any respect for the fact that, like, we were out there, let them kick our ass, and showing respect for being in the ring with each other. And more or less, Road Dogg's answer was, you should be happy that you were in the ring with us. Oh, by the way, you should be on my podcast, and I should be on your podcast.
I wouldn't even want the Road Dogg on our podcast.
But I mean, just the ego of it.
I agree.
Like, he kind of sort of apologized for, like, yeah, you know, maybe he could have done something differently, but, like, more or less unapologized for it, and then said, well, he should be grateful he was even in the ring with us. That's what it came off as, and I was like, I was entertained for many years by the Road Dogg, and when you hear crap like this, I've lost a ton of respect for him, and
Disco Inferno too.
Like, get over yourself, dude. You were a ginormous thing 20, 25 years ago. And you're supposed to put over the new era of talent, not get yourself over. So
I just remember too, Jay. Do you know who was in Jeff Jarrett's corner for his match at WrestleMania 11?
The Road Dogg, Jesse James.
The Roadie, before he became the Road Dogg, was in his corner, as well as X-Pac was in Razor Ramones. But yeah, so the man who's drawn $30 had the Roadie in his corner at WrestleMania 11. The two most forgettable people from that one. But they do not get my bad for this week. My bad is simple, short, and sweet. It's Mercedes Moné's hair. As my wife so eloquently referred to it as, it looks like moldy cheese. And now I can't get that out of my head. So for that, Sasha, Mercedes, whatever you want to call yourself, you got my bad for this week. What do you got for Brainless? I wonder if we're on the same page for the first episode of 2023.
No, I'm going fucking chalk here. Leader in the house for Brainless of the Year, Vince McMahon reinserting himself into WWE. I know he has the legal right and gumption to be able to do this. But the company has been thriving without him. Guess what? Last quarter of 2022, they had more money come in than they ever have before. It was not their most profitable. You want to know why it wasn't their most profitable quarter?
Because Vince McMahon was
because of the lawsuits and the legal, the money they had to pay to lawyers to defend Vince. Otherwise, it would have been the most profitable quarter ever. Vince McMahon coming back is not making it better.
Nope. Making it worse.
If all he's going to do is either cut salaries or cut people so they can sell it.
Got it to cut it.
And that's what they did 2 years ago. He should have just sold it 2 years ago when they brought in Nick Khan so that they could use him as a fall guy for all the people they let go, when it's like, Clearly, you don't need to do this. You're claiming it's because of all this stuff going on with the pandemic, but you made $250 million. Are you fucking kidding me?
Blood money comes a long way, Vince.
So Vince McMahon is getting my Brainless for this week, and he is going to be the leader in the clubhouse as far as Brainless for this year, and I believe it's going to be for a long time unless he pulls some more stupid Austin Theory shit, and Kevin Dunn is running or producing the segment where Austin Theory is like winning the title, and you don't even see him winning the title, and then he takes a selfie of himself in the ring, and you end up seeing the selfie, and then you don't even know who the hell he wrestled against.
Yeah.
So,
Sounds
what do you
right.
have for your Brainless?
Charlotte Flair is a 14-time SmackDown or 14-time Women's Champion now. It's amazing. She's younger than me, and she's going to be closer to her dad's record than her dad was when he was her age. I get it. I've been talking for months about how Ronda is fucking drizzle shits in the ring. I get it. I understand. I have never thought in all of my years that we would actually have a scenario where Charlotte Flair winning the title is the lesser of two evils. But the fact is that it's still two evils. Because of the fact that Charlotte Flair is now once again the champion. And her goal is to surpass her father as champion. Are you just dropping all these heads in there and everything? All these smiley faces?
I'm trying to put every emotion into this.
All the emotion. As opposed to, who didn't put any emotion? Oh, like Ronda Rousey when she's in the ring. But yeah, Charlotte winning the championship is my Brainless for this week. So if you like what you see, whether you're a first-time watcher or a continuous fan, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the F and marks. If you like and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. That has always been our
mantra. And make sure you set up notifications for when we go live, so you will be notified that we are live, so you could join in the conversation and talk about our favorite sport that we love to hate. Yes, Vince McMahon, it's a fucking sport. You suck.
Sports entertainment.
You suck.
Yeah?
Yeah! So, yeah, I think that's about it for episode 294. I don't think there's anything left for us to talk about. Nothing, absolutely nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. I think we're done. We're done.
Wait. Hold on a second, Jay. Pump the brakes a little bit. There is one more thing we have to do.
What's that, Brainless one?
Did you know that on today, January 6th of 2023, at an astonishing 2,903 days, this sexy bitch, FMR Hall of Famer, is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble. I got a feeling we're going to...
Hey, we are a few short weeks away from 8 years.
8 years. 19 days to be exact. 19 days is the 8-year anniversary of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, if he enters into the Royal Rumble this year as a surprise entrant, I don't care what anybody else says. He's still
mark out moment.
It's going to be mark out moment of the year, but he's still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Right. And I don't care if Captain Wedgie ends up making his re-debut at the Royal Rumble only to stop Curtis Axel from getting into the ring once again. That will just mean that it's a new continuation.
Oh, that means we got to do it twice. That means he's still alive in the 2015, and then he'd still be alive in the 2023. God, I don't think my brain can handle that. Yeah. So, for episode 294 of everyone's favorite wrestling podcast, The F and Marks.
I'm Jay, and he is
the one behind the one in Brainless One. Make sure you mark out
with your guac out. See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Enjoy the rest of SmackDown, and we all pray that Vince doesn't put a nuclear bomb onto this better thing that Triple H has built.
Hey, Austin Theory, Daddy's home. Oh, thank you, Chris Brown, for that one.